In this neighborhood,
This is an emergency. He's out of school for the summer.
where people cherish peace and
You
quiet,
won't get a moment of peace.
there lives a kid named Dennis.
Tell him I'm sick.
I won't fib for you, George.
Hi, Mrs. Wilson. Is Mr. Wilson here? Doesn't Mr. Wilson get up real early?
Usually.
You know what I do? When my dad's asleep, he doesn't want to be.
Well,
Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson. He feels warm. You need an aspirin.
Now, John Hughes brings one of your all-time favorite cartoon characters to life
smile.
for a whole new generation to discover.
Don't embarrass me.
You'll love Mr. Wilson,
That kid, he's a menace.
Mrs. Wilson, the Mitchells, Margaret,
We could bury you alive. I could pound you up big.
Joey, Switchblade Sam, and a menace named Dennis.
Kids are kids. You have to play by their rules. You have to roll with the punches. You have to expect the unexpected.
Dennis the Menace,
That's me.
America's classic kid in a classic American comedy. Directed by Nick Castle, a John Hughes production.
Hello, I'm Katie, and this is RetroMade, your pop culture rewind. Now, today we're going to go back only to 1993 today to revisit Dennis the Menace, the classic comic strip troublemaker who comes to life with nonstop chaos. I have a brand new guest that I'm thrilled to introduce you all to, Amy Lewis of the Pop Culture Retrospective podcast. It's a show that I could not relate to more. It very much speaks to me, Amy. So welcome to RetroMade. Please tell us about you and your show.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. You know, us podcast women with, radio ready voices really need to stick together. And I think that you certainly fall into that category. So so my show is the Pop Culture Retrospective podcast. Good job pronouncing that. Sometimes people have a hard time. It's a little bit of a tongue twister at times, but I started shows about 5 years ago now, which is just crazy. So in May, I'll be 5 years. And I started the show about a year after my sister, unfortunately, passed away very tragically. She had a long, unfortunate battle with significant mental health issues. And so unfortunately that ultimately, played out in an unfortunate way, but taking sort of that grief and trying to take a positive spin on it, I decided to channel my grief into kind of reminiscing about my childhood and teenage years growing up with my sister, because we loved watching movies together, listening to music together, talking about the toys that we had as kids, reciting lyrics to Rainbow Bright songs together. So I thought, instead of sort of sitting and feeling horrible about all this, which, of course does happen, I decided to just think about times in our lives that were really fun and hilarious. And our generation is sort of notorious for just really amazing pop culture that is funny, diverse, corny, cheesy, profound, and everything in between. So I've been on this journey now for almost 5 years, and it's been absolutely incredible. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I started this podcast, but I'm still doing it and loving it and getting to meet so many incredible people. And it's just pretty amazing that something so meaningful and positive and special and unique has come about because of this unfortunate situation in my life. So thank you for letting me be on the show.
Oh my gosh, you couldn't have said it any better. I just want to kind of reiterate that, well, first of all, congratulations on 5 years.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's a
I can't
feat.
believe it. Yeah.
And second of all, I think the show is really good. Like, the quality of your content and, your sense of humor and
little dry, a little sarcastic.
and
yes.
I love it. And you always honor your sister with the shows. It's just a wonderful balance of memories. And like you said, you turning something really unfortunate into something positive. So I highly recommend you all check out Pop Culture Retrospective with Amy.
Oh, well, yes. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for your.
Yes. And before we get into the time capsule of 1993,
Yes.
I wanted to share with you all a book that was recommended by a listener, Jen H. Thank you so much for your recommendation. I had to put it on my list at the library, and it's here. It is
Nice.
called You Couldn't Ignore Me If You Tried, The Brat Pack, John Hughes, and Their Impact on a Generation by Susanna Gora.
Oh,
Here is
nice.
the book. Now, I haven't started it yet. Here's
Yeah.
the back. But, I'm a big fan of the Handy Dandy Library.
Yes.
And so I'm going to dive into this, you guys. And so be on the lookout for some tidbits in future episodes.
Nice. Oh, that'll be a great read. I'm not familiar with that book, so I bet that's going to be a good one.
I wasn't either. And this whole season is about John Hughes. So again, thank you, Jen, for your recommendation. All right, Amy,
Nice.
are you ready to, spin this Pop Culture Retromade time capsule wheel?
Yes, I am. I always like to say that it'd be nice if I could remember, what the Constitution consisted of, or, which president was number 10, but I don't remember that kind of stuff. But I do remember a lot of unnecessary stuff from my childhood and adolescence. So we'll see if that proves to be correct.
Useless trivia is my favorite kind of trivia. All right, can you see the wheel, Amy?
I can, yes. I've listened to said wheel on the show, and so I'm really excited to actually see said wheel in person.
All right. Hopefully we get some good ones. The first category we come upon is Primetime Rewind. Okay, so these are the top 5 primetime TV shows from 1993.
Okay.
I have some clues, but do you have any guesses before I give you any clues?
Let's see. I think I would have some guesses, yes. I'm trying to think. 1993, I think Cheers had ended, so that would have been, very high up there, but I'm trying to think 1993 specifically. I'm going to say Cosby Show.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I think that probably ended just a little
Just
bit.
a smidge. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Seinfeld.
Seinfeld is number 3.
Okay. Man, why am I drawing a blank? 1993.
Suburban Sarcasm.
Suburban Sarcasm.
It's an auto city. It's set in an auto city.
Home Improvement.
Home Improvement.
Okay, I was like thinking 1993 because I think sometimes there's like these things are on the cusp. It's like, was that
Right.
like 96 or 91? So, anyways,
Yep. Let's
maybe
see.
like Roseanne.
Roseanne. Yep.
Okay,
And we have one set in Minnesota.
Coach.
And the number 1 is not a sitcom.
Okay,
It's a very serious show.
Serious.
Investigative journalism.
Okay, 1993.
It's got a very iconic opening.
Mm-hmm. This is, but I'm trying to think. It says CSI, but I feel like that started after that.
It's nonfiction.
Okay. I'm trying to think. It's not Unsolved Mysteries, is it?
You're getting warmer. Give
Okay.
up.
I think so, because I never watched a lot of like serious stuff or scary stuff, and still to this day I'm a bit very skittish. So
It's 60 minutes.
Oh,
I wanted
okay.
to do tick, 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 tick.
Yes.
Tick, but yeah, you kind of forget about that kind of a show when you're kind of talking about. But that was number
Yeah.
1 show,
Hmm.
prime time, 60 minutes, man.
I think that's usually when I was like, time to go to bed.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
That was not my jam in 93.
Right. When Andy Rooney came on and complained about something, I'm just like, I'm done. I'm going to bed. Good night.
All right, the next category is Return to Toon Time.
Ooh.
This animated series, which debuted in 1992, but was incredibly popular into 93, followed a group of mutant superheroes who dealt with both personal challenges and powerful enemies, all while exploring themes of prejudice and acceptance. What was the name of this show?
Okay. Is it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or is it Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
You're close.
Oh, okay.
It's X-Men, the animated series.
Oh, which I was like super into. Yeah.
I was not. I've never seen that one.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't pay attention to the whole prejudice thing because I was probably a little bit too naive to pick up on any
It's
themes.
funny revisiting things. All right, let's do another category here. Big screen time machine. So this is box office, the top 5 movies at the box office for 93.
Yep.
Any guesses off the top of your head before I start with clues?
Yeah, I think I might need clues.
So prehistoric creatures roared.
Jurassic Park.
Very good. Very good.
Which I like to tell a fun story about Jurassic Park which is not that great of a story. But anyways, I don't know how we ended up agreeing to all go see it in the movie theater. But like both me and my mom are, like I said, skittish, fearful, don't want to watch anything stressful or like people dying or people getting injured. But in Jurassic Park, there's dinosaurs constantly coming out trying to attack people. And my mom kept like digging her fingers into my arm the whole movie. And by the end of the movie, my arm was like completely red and like irritated because she was so scared. And I was like so scared I wasn't even paying attention. And she likes to deny that this happened, but it did.
Oh my God.
That's how terrified she was.
What? Like she's making your child at this time. That's like child abuse.
Amy. I know. Call DHHS. What's the statute of limitations? Is it 31 years? Is that too long? Yeah. So it was very scary at the time. And those special effects hold up pretty well.
They do. I actually really like Jurassic Park. I don't remember it being that scary, but great movie. Great movie.
Definitely.
Okay, that was the number 1. So good guess.
Yeah. Yeah, but you can keep going. Clues are good.
Cross-dressing got parental.
Mrs. Doubtfire?
Mrs. Doubtfire, yes. Let's see. A young lawyer joins a small but prestigious law firm only to find out most of their clients are on the wrong side of the law.
I'm just going to guess because, again, this like the top movies may have not necessarily been targeted toward my demographic. Was it like The Firm?
The Firm, yep.
Okay, nice.
And then in a similar vein, from a title structure perspective, wrongfully accused of murdering his wife, Harrison Ford.
Oh. Yeah. Title's not coming to me.
The Fugitive.
Oh, yeah. God, I feel like I saw. Yes, that was like, I remember that being extremely popular, which would make sense. Yes.
Yes, we have both The Fugitive and The Firm.
Yeah.
And then the last one is a Tom Hanks romantic comedy.
Sleepless in Seattle?
Very good. Very good. All right. I think we have time for one more category.
Okay. I live for this kind of stuff.
I know. Ooh, stars and scandals.
Ooh.
Let's see here. 93. I don't know. How's your supermodel knowledge?
Of this era, probably better than anything after. So
Yes. Okay.
yeah.
Famous supermodel. Arrested in 93 after a well-publicized altercation with a member of the press. She's known for being kind of a bitch.
Naomi Campbell.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, I remember she like whacked somebody with a purse or something like that. Or I'm trying to remember.
You have a better memory. I don't really recall this one.
Okay.
But I very much remember Naomi Campbell.
Yes.
And the 90s era supermodels. Very much. Yeah.
Which is, how do I know that? Because I have no fashion sense. Period. I think that's pretty obvious.
Well, if you grew up at that time, how could you avoid it?
Right.
Right.
It's just so interesting that like these supermodels sort of infiltrated everything. So it's like, what exposure did I have to any like the fashion industry at all?
Did you get magazines? Any of those like teen magazines?
Well, my sister did. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably why. Yeah, that's true. That's probably why.
Yeah, I probably have told this story before, but and I, got to find a scapegoat somewhere for all of our eating disorders in the 90s, right? So I just remember being like 12, reading these magazines and being like, why don't I have a 22-inch waist like Naomi Campbell or whoever, Christy Turlington?
Right. Yeah, really. Oh my gosh. So bad.
Okay, similar. Okay, I'll do one more stars and scandals question.
Sure.
This rapper in 93 faced multiple legal challenges, including charges related to his involvement in a violent altercation. The controversy would follow him for years despite his growing fame. And then he was later involved in a murder trial in 93.
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop. Yep. Very good, Amy. You did pretty good, I gotta say.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I remember 1993 quite well. So twas a good year.
Yeah, I feel like I like some of the 80s movies better, but I was too young to remember a lot of the trivia. So yeah. The 90s, man. Okay.
Indeed.
Now, before we start talking about Dennis the Menace, this season is about John Hughes. Do you have any particular thoughts about him as a writer or director, or how you came to start watching his movies, if you did?
Yeah, I was essentially raised, I would say, on John Hughes movies. And I think a lot of that came from both my dad and my sister. So I know you recently did, very recently did an episode on Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And that is like my dad's all-time favorite movie. I grew up just outside of Chicago. Both of my parents grew up in the city. So we have a lot of emotional ties to the city of Chicago. So huge influence on us, and grew up watching The Breakfast Club. Pretty in Pink was probably one of my sister's favorite movies of all time. And so, and Home Alone, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And so I definitely was one of those families that fell into the, watch a dozen or so movies like a million times. And several of those were John Hughes movies. So I'm certainly a fan. Some of them, certainly hold up better than others. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I think we've all been sort of impacted in some way, shape, or form by a John Hughes movie if you grew up in the 80s or 90s. So I'm certainly, I would say, a pretty big fan.
Well, I'm very jealous that you grew up just outside of Chicago. So you have kind of that extra closeness with his films.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. And what we'll be talking about later too, grew up pretty close to where they filmed the movie, very familiar with that community. So the location connection I have big time with John Hughes movies.
Love it. All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into the movie Dennis the Menace.
Yes.
Okay. It was released June 25th. 1993. It's rated PG. It's got a much lower IMDb rating than the last several John Hughes movies we covered, with 5.7.
I believe it.
Which is actually generous, given some of the other, like Rotten Tomatoes and some of the other critics. They were not kind to this movie.
No, they weren't. I think I kind of know why in some ways. Yeah, why they would be. Yeah.
So the director here is not John Hughes. So John Hughes was a writer here. The director is Nick Castle. Does that ring a bell in any way with you, Amy?
I'm trying to remember. Wasn't he connected with like something a little bit like on the darker side? I'm trying to remember what it was.
Definitely. Like Halloween. Yeah, he was like the Mike Myers.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
In Halloween. So he worked with John Carpenter quite a bit. We talked about Nick Castle in the Escape from New York episode because he co-wrote that. And then I did read, though, that, and we'll get into Warner Brothers association with Dennis the Menace, but when they purchased the movie rights to the character of Dennis the Menace, they offered the role to direct to Tim Burton, which would have been a very different movie, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, wow. That would have been a very interesting take. Yeah.
Definitely. So Nick Castle directed this. John Hughes wrote, and then Hank Ketchum is also a credited writer because he was the original 1959 TV show writer.
Yes.
Now, are you familiar with what's your history with Dennis the Menace, like the comic strip, the cartoon, the original show? Did you watch any of those?
Oh, yes. I was a huge Dennis the Menace fan. I was actually looking on my bookshelf the other day. I have like old comic book compilation books of his, of Hank Ketchum's, of the original series. Huge fan. I watched the black and white TV series on Nick at Night, I think it was, or I think it would also play during the day. I think when I was homesick from school, sometimes it would be on. And I own DVDs of that original show. I watched the cartoon, the Deke cartoon, religiously as a kid, recorded a lot of those onto blank VHS tapes, bought the series when it came out onto VHS, and then eventually onto DVD, which one of the DVDs is still currently stuck in our DVD player, which I need to remove. I haven't done it. The made-for-TV movie I was obsessed with. I could do a whole podcast episode just about that. So when I heard that this movie was coming out, I was, over the moon, because if there ever was like a Dennis the Menace dork that, is still alive today, that would be me, to the point where I think even like some of my, like the neighborhood kids would like joke and say like, it's Dennis the Menace. And I was just enamored. I don't know. I can't quite identify why, but I loved Dennis the Menace. Emphatically as a child and still to this day.
Were you mischievous and pesky like him, or?
No, not really. That's the thing. I don't know what it was. Like I was, didn't really get in any trouble. Did, things I probably shouldn't have, but certainly not known as like being the, kid in the neighborhood that's gonna, annoy the crap out of everybody and knock everything over and break a bunch of stuff. That certainly wasn't me, but there was just something about it that I just, I don't know, just thought was funny or entertaining, or maybe it was a dynamic between Dennis and his next door neighbor. I don't know quite what it was. And I was also a big tomboy too. So I really, which I know people don't use that term anymore, but I was a huge tomboy. So a lot of the TV shows and movies and stuff that I related to more were like, little boys that wanted to shoot slingshots, like that stuff I wanted to do, and ride bikes and skin my knees and play in the dirt. That was all stuff I wanted to do. So I always related a lot more to like little boy characters when I was a little kid than little girls. Yeah, exactly.
He comes cruising down with his, wagon full of terrors. In my opinion, there's like snakes and stuff.
Yeah,
no thanks.
And loved all that stuff.
I remember catching ladybugs, and now I'm like, oh, because I'm such an animal person, and I'm like, you shitty little kid, why? And lightning bugs. Why did I catch these creatures and put them in a jar? That was so mean of me.
I know, I did too. Or we'd step on them and pull it back so you'd see like the glow guts.
Ooh, I
for
didn't
like
do
2
that.
seconds. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Gross.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yikes. Well, I am kind of embarrassed then to be doing this episode with you, Amy, because I am so not. I'm like the opposite. I'm coming to this with a vague understanding of, that it was based on like an old, like a comic strip, and that there was I know, I'm aware that it exists.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So I feel bad covering this with you.
Well, that's okay. No, I think, I'm flattered. What are the chances that like some random person is going to be really into that as a woman is going to be really into Dennis the Menace? So,
good point.
It's not something that I can't think of one other person in my life that I could shoot the breeze with about Dennis the Menace, because that person doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist,
at least in my circle. So it's okay.
Well, thank you for making me feel better.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So if there's any of you out there like me that are less aware, so Dennis the Menace is everyone's favorite kid from the comics back in the day. When his parents need to go out of town on business, they both just so happen to have work trips the same weekend, and they cannot find a babysitter for him. He has to stay with the neighbors, George and Martha Wilson. And he drives Mr. Wilson crazy, but it's not malicious. He's just trying to be helpful, even to the thief who has arrived in town. So we'll get to all of that.
Yep. Trying hard not to roll my eyes about that part, but continue.
So Walter Matthau is the perfect Mr. Wilson, isn't he?
He is brilliant. He is fantastic in this movie. In everything, but amazing.
He really was good. I only know him as playing a grumpy old man in any movie. Like he plays that perfectly.
He does. Yes. And I looked up some information about Walter Matthau today, just out of curiosity, because I've always adored him. And my dad is the same age as Walter Matthau is in this movie. And my dad seems about 20 years younger than him, which is just a very bizarre realization
How old is
to
he
have.
supposed to be in the movie?
I don't think they ever really said. I mean, probably like 60s or 70s, and he's like 73 in this movie, in real life.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, I think when the comic strip would have come out, I probably would, you know, things did happen a lot younger. So I'm guessing probably in the comic books he was supposed to be probably like early 60s or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in real life he was 73. I was like, dear God, that has the same age as my dad. This is really weird. So very
Oh my
surreal.
gosh, this comes up literally every movie.
Yeah.
People just looked so much older
Yes.
back in the day.
Oh my God. Yes. Holy moly.
You know, like a woman my age back in the day would be like, well, let's put her out to pasture. She's
right.
done and over with.
Right.
you
It's
know?
like either going to play a grandma role or you're done. So
Yeah,
pretty much.
It's wild.
I know. Well, and I think Walter Matthau, though, you know, unfortunately, I could see him having sort of like a parting kind of hard outside of things. I think he looked like he was 90 for, you know, since he was like 40. So
He is one of those. There are a handful of those, that we talk about. He definitely is.
Yeah.
Were you familiar with the actor who played Dennis, Mason Gamble?
not really, not prior to. No, I think he was kind of like a relative unknown but prior to this film. And yeah, he was, I guess, selected out of tens of thousands of people, kids that auditioned for the role, which is just, I mean, unbelievable. And I'm not really sure if there was anybody else that was like more well-known that was also up for the role, but he won it. And I mean,
oddly enough, a lot of times, so in some of the trivia that we'll get to later, I have a lot of casting could have gone a different way, but none for Dennis. Nobody well-known. He certainly was a cute kid.
Yes.
And I don't even
definitely.
like kids, but he was very cute.
Yeah.
Not really in anything. Like, he did go on to be in Rushmore, Gattaca, and Spy Hard.
Yeah.
And apparently he's supposed to be a 5-year-old, but he was 7. The actual actor was 7.
Okay.
So the actress who plays Mrs. Wilson, Martha,
Yes.
is extremely famous. And but her name didn't just come to me. It's Martha. Or I'm sorry, Joan Plowright. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts about her?
Yeah, same with me. Is like, yeah, she's this super well known, had been acting for decades and decades, and was married to somebody very famous. But I think I only knew of her from this movie. I can't think of anything else that I remember watching that she was in. But I think that she was also well cast. I thought that she did a great job too. I think the two of them really made the movie kind of quasi tolerable to watch. So. Which, you know, they did a great job.
You probably do know her from, she also starred in 101 Dalmatians from 1996, also a John Hughes film.
Yeah.
And then she was in Flubber in 97 with another John Hughes film. Now she is a dame, or she was a dame.
Yes.
And also a baroness, married to Laurence Olivier.
Yeah. Like, how did that happen? That's
third. She was his third wife and his widow. So she was married to him when he passed away.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a stage actress, career that spanned like 6 decades, Oscar nominated. She won 2 Golden Globes. So yeah, she's Joan Plowright. I wouldn't have come up with that on my own, but she did look very familiar.
Yeah. And she should have won an Oscar for her performance of reading that poem, the poem to Dennis at bedtime. It's like, I remember watching that as a kid getting, oh my God, this is so beautiful.
Teary.
Yeah. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to lay in the fetal position and cry silently to myself and listen to her recite that again, because it's so well done.
You're right.
Yeah.
And I had kind of forgotten. There was a sweet moment when, because at first you're like, oh, they aren't really going to show their marriage, but they do. She kind of, they talk in bed about, they never had children. And so they talk a little bit about that. And she's like, it's not that's bothering me. It's that I want to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
And I can't.
Right.
Yeah.
I know there's all these profound moments that, like, in this beautiful like script writing. And then the next moment, the stupid Switchblade Sam crap happens. And it's like, what in the... We could have eliminated half an hour of this movie from
my God,
ridiculous...
what was the plot?
I don't know, but fortunately or unfortunately, you know, the whole Switchblade Sam thing is stuff that my sister and I would recite to each other for no reason for a really long time, especially like the scene where he takes the apple from the kid that's cross-eyed. As my sister just out of nowhere be like, "What you got there, sport?" Apple. I mean, it's like, what does that? I mean, that could be a whole episode by itself. Like, why the heck was this person in the movie? Like part one.
Which person, the cross-eyed kid or Switchblade
Well,
Sam?
both. Yeah, really. And like with the emphasis on the whole cross-eyed thing, is a foot short for his age and cross-eyed. I mean, why? So we're, knocking somebody with a disability, which, I take
93.
Right. Taking offense to, we've got two, neurodiverse children. I don't appreciate the, cross-eyed jokes. Not that that has anything to do with that, but, and then the Switchblade Sam thing, seriously? Come on. There's never some creepy robber / stabber / filthy whatever in any Dennis the Menace stuff. So I could really go off on a tangent, but I'm going to restrain myself.
Oh, there wasn't. That is interesting.
Not that I'm aware of, but
that's a good point. I almost don't know which direction to go with. So Switchblade Sam is played by Christopher Lloyd, and I love Christopher Lloyd.
Oh, but same. He's a brilliant actor. Brilliant actor.
He was very similar to Uncle Fester in a lot of ways, though. There were things he did in this that I was like, oh, that's very Uncle Fester.
I didn't even think of that, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. Yep.
I think the reason, so it's interesting to hear that this did get pulled out of nowhere.
Yes.
And I hadn't seen this movie. So I did see it in the theater at a matinee. I remember our small town theater going to the matinee. And I remember loving it. And oddly enough, I probably only saw it like that one time, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Until I rewatched it last night. And it's funny because the one scene that I remembered a few, but the scene I remember most was the apple with that kid.
What you got there, sport?
For whatever reason, that was the most memorable thing to me.
Yeah, that's a bad sign. I mean, that is a red flag. If that's what you remember, that's
I
a
did
red
not
flag.
recall how gross this hobo, like stereotypical old-timey train hopping hobo is what he was.
Basically, yes, a hobo. Yes, my dad went as a hobo for Halloween as well back when. But yes, I don't understand. Well, I guess one thing I learned was that, John Hughes did Home Alone, and I think Christopher Lloyd was offered a role of one of the robbers or whatever, one of the bad guys in the movie. And
it was Joe Pesci's role, I want to say.
Yeah, and he turned it down, and he always kind of regretted it, and he said that to John Hughes. So then the minute that there was some other, villain person to play, John Hughes booked him for that. But it's like, I would have never thought that would have been incorporated into a Dennis the Menace movie. I mean, it had nothing to do with anything. And Siskel and Ebert even threw that right under the bus. What did this have to do with anything? Because there's all these beautiful, tender moments between Dennis and Sin and Mrs. Wilson. That was such a beautiful thing. And then there's like this, hobo that fills up on refried beans or whatever. And you know what I mean? Is trying to allegedly stab apples and, maybe stab children. I don't get it. And I'm still furious. I'm still angry.
Hanging about the town for 3 days doing just being creepy.
Right.
Just walking around being creepy.
Right.
You're right. It didn't have anything to do with anything. And now that you say that, you're right. So John Hughes clearly, it was like a ham-fisted, I got to figure out a way to get Christopher Lloyd in a robber role in one of my movies. So I'll write that into this.
Right. And they could have, I mean, there's so much that more they could have done with him and still included him in the movie, but it really just did not make sense. And I can hear that. I forgot what that music sounds like every time that his character comes onto the screen. And I rewatched the movie too. And I was already just like, oh crap. Like here comes this like creepy guy who is still really creepy to this day.
Oh,
I mean, that's how good.
Very
I mean,
gross.
If I saw, like, it's not even about being homeless, hobo, whatever. I mean, just the presence of yikes. I mean, that's the stuff that nightmares are made of.
His teeth, his sinister nature. Yeah, it was a bit much, I thought, too, even like for this PG movie.
Right.
And speaking of the music, Jerry Goldsmith, famous, prolific career spanning over 50 years. We did, let's see, what episode we talked about last season where Jerry Goldsmith did the score was the Kurt Russell film Executive Decision.
Mm-hmm.
But it sort of seems like, I mean, what movie did he not score? It seems like he's scored so many.
Right. And it was brilliant. I mean, the music is like sinister, creepy. I mean, it's fantastic. But again, that does not fit the, the theme or whatever you want to say. It's not staying true to the whole Dennis the Menace thing.
Good point.
It just doesn't jive. And so if that could have been cut out, there still would have been like a story there. Like he was not necessary to the story at all.
No, because then there was it was like, well, which was the A plot and which was the B plot? The flower extravaganza with the orchid and that getting ruined. I don't know. It does seem to be, there was no like overarching plot to the movie. It just seemed to me anyway, just a series of hijinks, just kind of shoved together.
Yeah.
A little bit. And I remember really liking, I remember like being a kid and thinking a ton of it was funny, but
yes, it's all the same.
It didn't work so much when I rewatched it. And the first thing I thought of was like, this is just Home Alone, but by accident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
It's literally Home Alone, but the kid is doing it by accident.
Right. Basically, yes.
And not as good.
No, not even close.
And it's wild then because I kept being like, wow, this is literally Home Alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards I was like reading some of the reviews and stuff. And so clearly that's a common criticism, I guess. Mm-hmm.
I can't believe that Hank Ketchum was okay with that. And I don't really know that much about him personally. Actually, I do have his like biography that's no longer in like publication. I found a old copy of it or whatever that I'm going to sit down and read at some point when I have 3 minutes. But I mean, I don't know how I would be like, are you kidding me? Don't take my, this comic strip that I put together, 40 years ago and destroy it with this, character that's going to terrify children when this movie is aimed at children. I just, I don't know how that was approved.
You're right.
Yeah.
What did you think about the parents? So played by Leah Thompson as the mom.
Yep.
We all know Leah Thompson. And then Robert Stanton plays Henry, the dad, who is, he really was just like a Melba Toast type.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or milk toast. What's the phrase for just
I don't know. A tool?
Yeah.
Do people say that anymore? A tool?
I don't know. It's so 90s. It's so 90s. I love it. But he, aside from his look, I thought his look was spot on with the comic strip.
Yes.
But the dad
definitely
served like zero purpose other than that. And Leah Thompson's the mom. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe she could have made Christopher Lloyd the dad or something. I mean, come on.
He actually was considered.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Let me double check.
Yeah, I feel like there are decent, like, well-known actors that were considered for the role. I don't know how this kind of like Carson Daly, if you will, like just we always talked about Carson Daly was a tool. When again, reference.
It was Daniel Stern.
Okay,
yeah, I was thinking of from Home Alone. He was considered for both Switchblade Sam and the dad.
Wow.
Which is interesting. But anyway, go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. No, I think
Carson
the dad.
Being a tool.
Yeah, or like my mom would say, he's a big zero. I'll let her know that I'm sure she'll listen to the show. I'm not kidding. But I thought, Leah Thompson, I thought, she did, good enough job as Alice and, certainly stood out a lot more than the dad. But I think she also had more dialogue. And I think, although this movie is set in the 90s, which you kind of feel like is sort of as a progressive time, it still kind of isn't either, because she's still sort of doing the traditional mom stuff and getting flack for being a mom by another woman, coincidentally, which is, interesting.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought she did
major clashing with a woman who has kids versus one who doesn't have kids, but she has a life.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what she says.
I know. I've totally forgot about that. Also unnecessary, other story, other plot line that's like not necessary. But I thought she did a great job. But I think, the dad could have been cast better, because I think the whoever played the father in the original series, the original live action television series, I thought that dad was definitely more memorable than the dad in this movie. So
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Now, I actually did kind of get a kick out of the annoying little girl, like
Margaret.
Margaret Wade,
Yeah.
played by Amy Sackasitz.
Wow.
That's a hard name to say. Amy Sackasitz.
Wow, she was probably,
Sackasitz.
I'm sure people really butchered, made fun of her.
Yeah.
So,
Yikes.
poor thing.
She was like just a mini adult.
Yes.
I kind of got a kick out of her just because of all of the adult things she was doing and saying.
Yeah. Yeah, she was pretty fun. I mean, she looked like kind of like an American doll, like with her curls and the glasses and stuff. But yeah, I think she did a good job of playing sort of like an annoying neighborhood girl, that wanted the boys to play what she wanted to play. So I think she was pretty convincing in that role. So yeah, not too bad. I don't think, I certainly don't remember her from anything else either, but I probably wouldn't have recognized her if she was in something else too, just because of her costuming and stuff for the movie. So
She didn't. I think she did a few things, but both her and the kid who played Joey, the other friend, like the other little boy,
yeah.
Joey,
Mm-hmm.
he's played by Kellen Hathaway, and neither of those two really went on to really do much else. So
Yeah.
this is kind of it.
Well, I'm sure when people saw this movie, like, oh, you're in that movie. Never mind.
I thought Joey was really cute. I
Yeah.
thought he was like a cute little kid. And I thought she did a good job as an annoying kid. The chief of police is pretty well known, though, Paul Winfield.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those people who are like, I know I've seen him in something. Yeah.
He was in Cliffhanger, Mars Attacks, The Terminator, and I've never seen this, but I hear it's pretty good. Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan.
Oh, yeah, I've never got into Star Trek, but
Yeah. Me neither.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they certainly got some big names for the movie. And again, I guess I was surprised that Walter Matthau especially would agree based on the whole Switchblade Sam thing, because I feel like he would have been, not to assume or stereotype, but I feel like he probably would have been familiar with the comic strip just solely based on age.
Mhm.
And so I'm just surprised that he's like, oh yeah, sure. Like he gets like kidnapped and swallows a key. That sounds great. Sign me up. Yeah.
Sign me up.
Oh, he's going to fall onto like a couch that like fell in the river. Great. I'll be in that movie. That sounds wonderful. Yeah.
I don't know if, well, actually, he kind of had a resurgence in what year did Grumpy Old Men come out? Like he kind of had
right around then. I think it was right around then, 91, 92, something like that.
So maybe he was just kind of riding the wave.
True.
With it. The last two people that I wanted to talk about on the cast, Natasha Lyonne. I love her so much.
Yeah.
She plays the babysitter Polly, and I don't know. I just dig her. You guys all know who she is. She's been in like tons and tons of stuff. She's been nominated for an Emmy 5 times, very famously in Orange is the New Black, Russian Doll, Poker Face. And then, she was also like back in the day in Pee-wee's Playhouse. I think her name was Opal in that.
Wow.
And then the movie Slums of Beverly Hills and American Pie. Those are all big hitters. So, Natasha Lyonne, redheaded, known for her hair.
Yes.
Like that's a look that she has.
Yep.
And then her boyfriend, very stereotypical in the movies, the babysitter invites her boyfriend over to make out.
Mm-hmm.
And the boyfriend is none other than
Buzz from Home Alone, which I can't think of. I don't know his real name, unfortunately, which is sad. But.
I didn't write. Yeah. But yeah, it's Buzz from Home Alone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which I feel like his character was more, his brief appearance in the movie was significantly more enjoyable than the other like subplot line characters, because he was really funny.
Agreed.
And I feel like to this day, and this movie was not something that I watched religiously as a kid, because I kind of liked it, I think just because it was Dennis the Menace, but still to this day I like find myself like when my kids were little in the tub, I felt like saying Sabed Huffy. I will never be Big Enug.
He can't read,
which again is probably not that, probably people are like, cancel this now.
Yeah.
But at the time I thought it was hilarious. And
Mm-hmm. Last night when I was watching it, I was like, why is the boyfriend basically doing the babysitting? Where's Polly? He was in there reading the book while Dennis was taking his bath.
Mm-hmm.
He was in there reading the book to him. It's like,
Yeah.
Where's Polly? What's she doing? She's the babysitter.
That's true. That's true. Who knows? I mean, she's willing to like make out with the lights out. I mean, who knows what else? Maybe she's hitting up with, hitting up the bars or something with Switchblade and,
loose morals, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Indeed.
It's questionable.
Well, speaking of questionable, this poor kid, Mason Gamble, got a Razzie nomination for his role in this.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they do for kids anymore. I don't, right?
Yeah. I doubt it, which is good because and I've always kind of felt this way anyways, but I had an episode of my show recently where I got to interview two individuals that put together a film about kind of what can happen to child actors, as they get older. And, I feel like it's something that I'm kind of like sensitive to for some reason. I don't really know why, because I like was always really sad about like Dana Plato and like where her life kind of went after different strokes. And, Gary Coleman, people were so awful to him, and so I'm glad, I hope that they did away with that. I mean, it's certainly not a great movie and probably, not maybe his favorite piece of work that he ever did. But I think, giving a 7-year-old kid to say, oh, guess what? Like your movie sucked.
Not even that the movie sucked, that his performance, which I didn't think. That's interesting. But I go off on the Razzies. They do low hanging fruit. Like they don't really choose. Yeah. So,
right.
And there was also a Stinker's Bad Movie Award for this movie. A nom. They didn't win for worst resurrection of a TV show, which concur probably.
Yeah. Again, just because if it was its own thing, if the movie was just called like Bob the Kid Next Door, that'd be one thing, but it's tied to this, beloved comic strip, I think that's where the criticism, where people sort of drew the line is that it's tied to this beloved thing. But yeah, I'm glad, Razzies, that's just, not cool.
You bring up a good point though. Tying it to Dennis the Menace is probably, I'm just guessing here, what got butts in seats. It was a success at the box office. It was made for $35 million and made $117 million worldwide. So again, things that make money aren't always quality and vice versa. Right.
Yeah, and people and they're playing on this nostalgia, like we talk. I'm always get worked up when there's like reboots and that's so dumb and can't they think of anything else? But I wasn't thinking that actually, in 1993 when I was begging to go probably see this movie 50,000 times. But same thing. I mean, it's like rebooting something that was decades old already. When you stray too far, then that's where the real fans start coming out and throw Rotten Tomatoes at the screen and get upset. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But so I take it that you loved it as a kid. What's your history with this movie?
I think I was, because I was already, regardless, it had nothing to do with this movie. I was a huge fan of Dennis the Menace several years before this movie even came out. So I was like, already liked it, hadn't even seen it. I think I even had the movie poster of it hanging in my room before it even came out. So I think at the time, rose-colored glasses, thought it was amazing, loved it, really liked Dennis, the character, liked Walter Matthau, so absolutely loved it. But now as an adult, I, unfortunately don't think it holds up pretty well. It doesn't hold up very well. And I think it's not really something I would want to watch with my kids either, especially my older son. I think would be absolutely terrified of Switchblade Sam and would probably never want to watch it. Aww. So I think that character alone would make both of my kids actually pretty nervous, because it feels like a weird, not horror movie, but just like a weird creep factor that oh yeah, let's watch that movie with the guy with the rotten teeth and the oily hair. I don't, they're not going to say that. So I don't, no. So,
And you have little kids though, right?
yeah, they're 8 and 10, and my 10-year-old has a lot of challenges and things that make him uncomfortable, and
Okay.
and so I think this would be
No
not good.
bueno.
And which
Yeah,
is sad
yeah.
because there's so many things that when you become a parent, or you become an auntie, or you become your best friend has a baby and you're involved in their life. There's certain stuff you kind of want to show them, and
Mhm.
Dennis the Menace was like a huge part of my life. But this is like, I think I've shown them the cartoon,
Okay.
the D cartoon, but I have no desire, sadly, to sit down and watch this with them. Maybe if I fast forwarded through those parts, but
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, not really. So, that's not how they should have thought about that, in advance.
Good point.
Are people going to watch this with their kids in 30 years? No. So, yeah, it's just not a.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to the, all of that, I mean, I don't know. We're not supposed to really pick it apart, but
Yeah.
as an adult, like watching this, I'm like, we see like kind of the opening of this very, what's the word? Perfect little Norman Rockwell
Yeah.
small town.
Yeah, definitely.
And so clearly it's a very safe place to live. And we see everybody, including the neighborhood cats. And of course, Mr. Wilson is like, oh crap, they can hear Dennis coming. He's pedaling on his bike with his wagon full of weird stuff. And they're like, oh, we got to get out of the way of the chaos. And Mr. Wilson goes and pretends to sleep. But why doesn't he lock the door? If he knows he'll just come in.
Right. And that was like a really unnecessarily long opening scene too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just again, just something that like just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you think, oh, we should have them like give him an aspirin even though he's sleeping, but he should like shoot it? And it's like, can we just? I mean, I'm not a writer. I'm not a television or movie writer, not a screenwriter. I write and run-ons. However, I mean, really. I have, they probably had way more knowledge of the whole Dennis the Menace backstory. I mean, they've got freaking Hank Ketchum right there. That's
Good
what
point.
like that's what you open with? Really?
Really good point. I do remember getting a kick out of when I was a kid. So, I mean, I me as an adult, I'm not the audience. I mean, it needs to be, passable enough for like adults to watch with their kids, I guess. But
yeah.
I remember thinking all of these gags and like the slapstick stuff was hilarious.
Yeah.
But watching it last night, I guess I was just sort of like, this is not funny. I don't know.
Right.
Did you find any of the, chaos slapstick moments?
Yeah. It's funny. I've never been like necessarily like a huge slapstick comedy person. And I love comedy. That's like, my favorite genre. But anything that I feel like there's always has to be like something happening to a man's groin area, which I just don't find funny. Like Oldest Trick in the Book. So like that whole thing where he like does the splits, like completely unnecessary and like very uncomfortable actually to watch. And didn't need to see Walter Matthau in a compromising position like that. But no, I didn't find, I mean, and again, I feel like there's so much stuff that could have happened, like so many more dynamics that could have been more entertaining. I mean, I guess kind of like the whole scene with the garden lanterns falling on his face and then like Dennis pulling off one and talking to him. I mean, that was kind of funny and cute. And
that's true.
That was kind of like an old man and a little kid kind of thing that made sense. But the other stuff, it's like shooting an aspirin into somebody's mouth with a slingshot. That's just dumb. I don't know. Like not very creative. I don't know. And it's like, and why would like some kids sneak up into the bedroom of a neighbor's house? It's like, yeah, movies are all like unrealistic. I mean, so much of it's unrealistic, but it's not relatable. Like, oh yeah, I snuck up, I went up to my neighbor's bedroom last night too. This is great. I can relate to this kid. No, you didn't, it's just weird. I don't know. It's one of those things too, where I think it's written by somebody that's like not Dennis's age, well, obviously, but that somebody that's like so far removed from being a 7-year-old kid that it's like really obvious,
So that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
I mean, I at first, like I had to, for the first probably 20 minutes of the movie, I was like, is this set in the 50s or is this current day?
Yes.
Like we go back and forth. There are a lot of things that are very old timey.
Yes.
But then clearly it's set in current day because of the cars and they have a microwave and the phones and stuff like that. But
right.
like the old timey blocks, the mom, like when we first meet Alice, her hair and her dress is uber 1950s.
Yes.
But then the next scene, she has like a normal hair, like for the night, it's
right.
Like the Wilsons' clothing, very old timey.
Yes.
Just the whole train hopping weirdo, like the very stereotypical nature of that. And maybe that was meant to call back to the original show. I don't know. I couldn't really quite tell. And just even Dennis, like this kid is just out playing outside all day, every day, with his overalls and no shirt. And no one is ever supervising him.
Right. I mean, if that didn't leave a really bad farmer's tan, then I don't know what would. And I refuse to let my children have a overalls tan like that because that's just unacceptable. I mean, what's that gonna look like when he goes swimming? I mean, that's gonna look terrible. You know what I mean?
Good point.
He wasn't putting on sunscreen. If he hasn't gone all day, there's no way.
However, he did say something. I did take note of that for a 5-year-old to say something about when he was sort of like taken hostage, so to speak, by Christopher Lloyd. He's like, well, we got to swing by my house. I got to pick up this, and I got to get my sunscreen. And I thought, okay, what 5-year-old knows about putting sunscreen on?
Yep.
Good for him.
Okay, well, maybe there was no farmer's tan after all.
But also, what 5-year-olds are just out and about adventuring in the forest with all day, every day.
Yeah.
5-year-olds.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
nobody's ever watching these kids, ever.
No. Nope. I mean, no wonder he's always doing something, He's got no boundaries, no rules, whatever.
He doesn't.
You want to run away with a hobo? That sounds great. Go. You do you. You do you.
The parents were major pushovers. I mean, from a parent, like I'm not a parent, but I'm watching this like, come on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. But sometimes you just, you're so exhausted that, it's just whatever. Things just happen because you're just haven't slept in years and your decision-making skills are
like whatever
how they used to be.
Go hang out with a hobo. I don't care.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm so tired of you and your attitude and cleaning up after you. You know what? Go find a nice hobo. Go join a nice hobo family. You hate this family so much, you go join a hobo family, okay?
Yes. That was
find yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You think it's bad here? You go live with a hobo and have beans that are opened with a pocket knife.
Switchblade.
With a switchblade. With a switchblade. Okay.
I will say there was one part of this movie that I genuinely got a kick out of because I'm easy and basic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The phone hanging up montage.
Yes. That was
partially because it just showcased all of the different types of phones that were a thing in 1993.
Yes. Yep.
Duck phone.
Mm-hmm.
Clear phone with the colorful insides.
Yes.
Car phone. I forgot that of those ever existing in the first place.
Yes, that cost like $5,000 for a 30-second phone call. Yeah.
Yep. And then several different versions of that, like fancy, ornate, with the gold, like rich person
like
phone.
The princess. I think it's called a princess phone.
Is that what it's called? Yeah,
yes.
I don't know.
I don't know why. I don't know why I know that. Again, not helpful information for getting into college. But.
Useless information. And then there was like a yellow retro phone, and I liked the red phone that the Mitchells had in the house. So I really did kind of like. Nobody wants to babysit Dennis because he's such a terror, and we solved the 90s phones. That was great.
Yeah. Well, and I think it also is like really satisfying to slam a phone, so that's a lost art too. So there's a lot of elements to why that was such a great scene and a great song too. That just made it fun too. So yeah, definitely great, and a good moment for like the parents' characters, and which again, they could have done more stuff with that too. So yeah, so it's an interesting movie.
One other, again, there's a lot of questions that again, I'm in my 40s watching this movie.
Same.
last night after 30 years, and I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about dentures, but Mr. Wilson has dentures, but there's gold teeth in them. Is that a thing? Why would there be gold teeth in dentures?
That I have no idea, unless he had like originally had his teeth, like a tooth replaced with a gold tooth, and then wanted it salvaged and put into his dentures.
I don't know.
I don't
Anybody know anything about, are there any dentists out there that can fill me in on what the story is with gold teeth in dentures?
Yeah.
Why that would be a thing.
Yeah. No idea. But I mean, there's a lot of unknowns. And, why did he have chiclets locked in a safe? That, yeah, he had to run home was it in a safe or like a secret, like a bank or like a piggy bank or some kind of special box or something? It's like,
yeah, it was a special box.
Like that's that's what you put in there was like chiclets, really? But yeah, I don't know why. Gold teeth. I mean, maybe it's just there were something and they didn't want to throw them out, or I don't know. That's interesting.
The things that come to mind when I'm watching a movie nowadays.
There's probably some kind of symbolism, though, I'm sure, to it, because John Hughes always threw little things into movies. I bet there's some reason for it. There has to be, because that's too bizarre.
You're right. And speaking of which, so John Hughes is famous for kind of reusing actors, and there's Ben Stein, who was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off that we just covered. I didn't notice him, but I saw that he was on the cast list. He was one of was it the mom's boss? Like he was in the workplace. Must have been a very brief moment because I missed it. And
yeah, same. No, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huh. Who knows? Yeah, that is a mystery. Yeah.
And then similarly, he's kind of known for having either scenes while the credits are rolling or post-credit scenes. There wasn't any post-credit scene, but there was the mean work lady got her comeuppance by Dennis while the credits were rolling.
Yes, which is another thing I totally forgot about. Yeah, that was a weird ending after all that.
Wasn't it?
Which again is like not, Dennis's whole thing is not about like revenge or, intentionally, messing with somebody, I just, again, it goes against the whole thing, Yeah.
It's like he acts, it's like he's, I mean, I'm sure he would be diagnosed with something, not like he just can't help himself. He's nothing is ill-intended.
Right.
He's not ill-intentioned, but he just causes chaos everywhere he goes.
Yep. Severe ADHD or something like that. Yeah. Very impulsive. Yep.
Now, did you babysit when you were, a teen or a preteen?
I did a little bit. I wouldn't say that was my favorite job to do. That was more of like my sister was really into babysitting and would buy Babysitters Club books with her babysitting money. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I did kind of here and there a little bit, but I was not big into. I was kind of like not cut out for babysitting.
Same.
No. Yeah.
And watching this it totally reminded me why I hated babysitting.
Yeah.
I was Walter Matthau. Like I think since birth I have been a grumpy old man and am annoyed by the innocent. But annoying nature of children.
Yeah, that you know what, and I think that's good to know that, honestly. Like if that's not your thing, and yeah.
So I did not have children.
Yeah.
So I did. Yeah.
Totally, I get it. Yeah, totally makes sense. Yeah, I was not cut out for babysitting, or I remember there was like one house that my sister and another friend of mine like always kind of ended up sort of randomly babysitting at, and their house was a mess, and it like drove us insane. And like all you wanted to do when you were there was just like clean the crap out of the house because it was so messy. And it's like, how does this family live like this? So it's like you get an insight into people's lives that you don't need when you babysit.
Great point. Really good point.
Yeah.
The only thing I liked about it was like the parents would sometimes order us pizza for dinner.
Yeah.
Like that was the bonus for me. But yeah, same. My sisters, I have two older sisters, and they were both super into babysitting, and they never understood why I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And now that they know me and as an adult, they're like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Kids are not your jam.
No. And I think at that age too, to have the forethought or whatever to be like, okay, I'm going to plan these activities. I didn't think like that You know, that's just not how my brain worked as a, you know, and I think, and, you know, our age too, like our generation, you know, we were babysitting at 10, 11, 12 years old, which I would be horrified to have a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old. No way.
Babysit. Yeah.
And, you know, on God's green earth, would I have a 12-year-old come over here to babysit? Like, not going to happen. But yeah, I just did not have that skill set to think, oh, we're going to need, 3 hours. So we're going to need like dinner. And I did not think like that. Just what do I do? You know, no, not for me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, neither was Mr. Wilson, because on the rainy day when Dennis has to stay inside, he can't go outside and wreak havoc on the forest or whatnot. He doesn't know how to deal with that. Like he cannot contain his boredom, and he's basically like any kid. Will you play? I can't remember. He wants to play some game, or I can't remember what he asked.
It's like Cops and Robbers or something like that.
And Mr. Wilson's like, no, I'm an adult. I'm finicking here with my coin collection.
Well, here's my question, because I think this is one of those moments where I didn't know what he meant until like way later. When you saw this movie and Mr. Wilson kept saying, I need the GD, blah, 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 blah. Did you know what he meant? I thought it was
Probably
like, is that
not?
I think I remember watching as a kid. I'm like, he keeps saying GD. Does he mean, is that like a brand? Do they own a bunch of things and the brand is GD? What does that mean? And then I think I watched it again as, I don't know when, maybe 10 years ago. I'm like, oh my God, he means goddamn, which I did not pick up on as a kid.
Good point.
But
I probably didn't either.
Yeah.
But I did note it because he does it like last night when I watched it. I did note it because it's a PG movie, and also he's, you know, that type of a man probably doesn't swear,
right?
So
where are the G? I was like, GD. Is that the brand name of? Is there a company called GD and they make garden lanterns? Okay, that's how naive I was, which is, I guess, good. But yeah.
So I don't think this will surprise you, given what we just talked about with Hank Ketchum's original story.
Yeah.
John Hughes, did you see that he never watched a single episode of the show?
No.
He drew his inspiration only from the comic strip. He never saw the TV show.
I need to leave. That is, wow.
Well, makes sense though, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's true. I guess I would just want to, I mean, again, and what do I know? I'm just like, you know what I mean? I don't know anything about the movie biz, but I would have thought that he'd, and so iconic, you know, and of course I'm biased, but, you know, because I was a huge fan, but how would you not want to watch that? It's not like it's like torture to watch it or something. I mean, it's, out of all things from that era, I mean, it's a pretty, you know, tolerable, funny show to watch. I mean, so that's surprising. But he's kind of interesting. He's kind of a quirky sort of person, though. So I guess on the one hand, I could kind of see it too.
Yeah, and the more I'm kind of getting to know him through this season, I think he can, in some ways, be difficult to work with. There was another director, I think, that they had on board that they ended up replacing before Nick Castle came on board because of creative differences with John Hughes. I mean, that could mean a number of different things, but he only drew inspiration from the actual comic strip and not the show.
Which, again, how did that translate into this POS? You know what I mean?
Yeah. He was, I mean, I guess I'm, you know, all of the just little, you know, he's like a bull in a china shop and is annoying his neighbor. But then the Switchblade Sam thing is the out of left field bit.
Whoever really took the lead on Switchblade Sam needs to, I don't know, be punished. And I don't know what that looks like, but that was a big mistake.
Well, not to be morbid, but I think that did happen because John Hughes died. And I'm pretty sure he was the one that was like, I'm going to write him in because he originally, you know, like we talked about, he wanted to be in Home Alone. Yeah.
It's true. That's because he thought it was reflecting on his career and then thought about, Praying Bank and 16 Candles and Switchblade Sam. And then that's when the heart attack happened.
Yep, indeed.
Yep. Sorry. Too soon.
Too soon. Too soon?
Sorry, not sorry. No. I have grief myself. I deal with grief through having a dark sense of humor. I apologize.
There you go.
Not trying to offend anybody. That's how I cope.
No. Nobody, I don't think the listeners of RetroMade are easily offended people.
Yeah. Oh, good.
So Warner Brothers, I talked about, or I brought up earlier, and I wanted to come back to it because I read, this was their first film, Warner Brothers Family Entertainment's inaugural film, first of 5 films that that particular division released in 93, the Family Edition.
Ouch.
Free Willy, Secret Garden, The Nutcracker, and Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
I do not remember that at all.
Yeah, I don't either. And then Dennis the Menace. So those were the 5 movies that the Family Entertainment portion of Warner Brothers. And it was also the first film where they introduced the version where the logo is with Bugs Bunny leaning against the W.
Yes. My goodness. Yeah, I remember this. I think I saw the Secret Garden in theaters, and probably saw Free Willy also in the theater, and also tried to recreate the scene where the whale jumps over the kid with a pool toy, but that's for another time. But wow,
who were you in this recreation? The whale?
No, I'm kidding. No, I think I was one of no, I know, I'm kidding. No, I was one of the people, I think, who was like chucking the inflatable whale toy over the girl who had her hand out, like looking up to it and thinking of Michael Jackson's song. So
that's right.
Yeah. But that's I mean, on the like tiers of all the, those 5 movies, I mean, this is pretty low. And this, this is from a true diehard, Dennis the Menace.
Yeah, I'm interested. I mean, I guess it's very interesting for me to hear that from you. But I guess because you hold it so dear, and this fell so short, then I can see why you have feelings.
Yeah, it's like when not that I don't know anything about Star Wars, but when it's those like the Phantom Menace, I think people got really mad about those because they weren't like the original movies or something. This is on the same level as that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad that there's another non-Star Wars person, because sometimes I feel like I'm like the only person on the planet. So
I think for me it's like it has to do with, I'm trying to remember who I was talking to about this, but the whole like fantasy movie thing, I cannot follow. It's like, you don't understand the movie. They have to go through the 5th door and get the book and put it on the number on the shelf that's by the goblet. It's like, I don't want to hear any more. I don't want to see that movie. I don't want to read the book. That sounds terrible. I do not like fantasy stuff at all. It makes my blood boil. That's how much I can't stand it.
Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. No, thank you. No desire
my son, yes.
at all.
No, my youngest son is obsessed with Harry Potter, which is wonderful. I can't stand those movies at all. And I'm sure, people are going to
screaming at us right now,
throw their iPhone like out in oncoming traffic because they're so angry. But I can't follow that stuff at all. No, I'm not interested. Oh, but you didn't read the 4th book where the owl comes and then it drops the notes. No, that sounds really horrible. But did you like watch that movie that was really funny, or did you
Agreed.
It's like I either want to learn something or laugh, and if that doesn't happen, then I'm out.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I think we have very similar taste, and that's why I think your show resonates with me so much.
Well, thank you. Likewise.
Yeah.
Well, you like the facts. You do the trivia, and they're like, stick to the facts, people. Not the look at they got to the 2nd level of the map. It's like no, thank you.
I think that's why I didn't. The one Kurt Russell movie that I did not like from last season, Stargate, was like weird.
Haven't even seen it.
You would hate it. I did not like it at all. It was like, why how can you screw up Kurt Russell plus Egypt? Add some fantasy weirdness to it. That's how.
Yep. The only like fantasy movie I feel like I can tolerate is Labyrinth.
There are exceptions to all of my. I feel like I'm like I really am a grumpy old man because there's so many things that I dislike. I don't really like musicals, but there are exceptions to that. Same.
Yes.
I also love Labyrinth, but it's an exception to the rule.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. And I remember going to the movie theater to see the whole like Mockingbird, Mockingjay. What is that series? I'm trying to think what the first book is. looking at
Oh,
my bookshelf right now,
this-
but can't read it from here.
The Hunger Games, I want to
Yes.
say.
Yes,
Mhm.
thank you. The Hunger Games. I never read the books, heard the concept that I said, that sounds terrible, but somehow was convinced to go see the movie. In the first 5 minutes, I knew that I was going to hate that movie, and I did. And I sat there for like however long that movie was, which was way too long.
Mhm.
Anything
They
over a
do
minute was
tend
too
to
long.
run long, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, anything over a minute for that movie was too long for me. And I like was stewing in my chair the whole time. It's like, I have no interest in how these people are classified. And no, nope, doesn't do it for me. I don't get it. It makes me
Yeah,
it makes me very
wild.
angry.
It's wild how, everybody has such different tastes in movies and how they, there's so many different Venn diagrams that
Mhm.
is some weird crossovers in some cases.
Yes.
But so Dennis the Menace, casting wise, Leslie Nielsen I saw was originally offered the role for Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, I
I'm
think I
very
saw
glad
that too.
that it's Walter Matthau.
Yeah, he doesn't, and Leslie Nielsen's, great and everything, but he doesn't have the same, I think, like genius comedy, I think, presence that like a Walter Matthau does. He's just kind of just slapstick, I feel like, period.
Yeah.
Which is great, which is
Mhm.
fine. But Walter Matthau is like a good combination of subtlety that it's like just
Subtlety, that's it. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
like that
Agreed.
the scene where he wins the garden whatever thing, and he's like really affectionate, like smiling next to his wife, and then when he turns around and stands up in front of everybody, his demeanor changes immediately to be more serious, is like so
Mhm.
spot on, and it's just so well executed that thank God Walter Matthau was cast as Mr.
Yeah,
Wilson.
agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Some other like big hitters were considered too. Mickey Rooney, Mel Brooks, Tim Conway, Ed Asner. All
Wow.
considered, like all kind of from that same
Yes.
ilk,
Yeah.
Tim Curry was considered for Switchblade Sam after he was in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, another John Hughes movie.
Yeah, and let's go back to Switchblade Sam for a second. Okay.
Yeah.
But again, the name too, it's like that is just a horrible name. Couldn't it have just been like Hobo Number 1? Like, why did he have to be called Switchblade Sam? Okay, that
It's
just
never
sounds
said in the movie, is it?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. That sounds like the name of a horror movie is called Switchblade. They should just make a movie separate called Switchblade Sam, where that character just, goes nuts and
Agreed. Agreed.
Mhm.
Well, so do you think it would have been better with another, either a Tim Curry or like Danny DeVito, Michael Keaton, Bill Murray, Jack Nicholson, Michael Richards, Daniel Stern, Willem Dafoe? Those were all considered. Do you think it would have worked better with any of those? Or
I think it would have been. I don't think anybody could have salvaged that because it just didn't
Mhm.
make sense. And I think that's a testament to how brilliant of an actor Christopher Lloyd is. Like,
yeah,
so good, but it just didn't have a place in this movie. So I don't know. Like, maybe.
yeah, you're right. It didn't. Like despite my being like, oh, that's a little too Uncle Festery in some cases, but yeah, I thought he did a good job. It was just like, what's happening here? Yeah,
Mhm.
I did see that a number of people for Alice,
Mm.
basically all of the blonde popular women of the time: Melanie Griffith, Madonna, Michelle Pfeiffer, Kelly Preston, Sharon Stone,
Mm.
all of them considered. I'm not a huge Leah Thompson person. Like, I don't dislike her, but she's
Yeah.
not, I don't love her.
Right.
So I could have taken any of those other, Kelly Preston probably would have been good.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Honestly, Sharon Stone has that little, maybe that could have been interesting.
Yeah. She could have done, that would have been very interesting if she was Alice. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think I could see where Leah Thompson feels a little bit more kind of like
Sweet.
that, the girl next door kind of thing,
Mhm. Yeah.
But Madonna, really?
Yeah. Sharon Stone and Madonna seem similar.
Mhm.
And then Melanie Griffith and Kelly Preston and Leah Thompson seem kind of similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Tim Allen, Jerry Seinfeld, Ed O'Neill, and Rick Moranis were considered for Henry.
Mm. Rick
Which
Moranis would have
Henry
been-
was it was such a nothing role.
Yeah,
Those are all
really.
very famous people for
Mhm.
such a nothing role.
Such
That's
a big
interesting.
zero role. Yeah.
Zero.
A big,
I love
he's
that.
a big zero. My mama will never say, would never say anything like disrespectful or like an expletive or anything about anybody. It's always very like appropriate and like kindly done. So instead of saying, he's a big blah, 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 expletive shows, he's a big zero. So yeah, big zero role. But Rick Moranis, I could have seen, he would have probably at least done something with that to make it more interesting, just because he's like good at being kind of a nerdy character, and Henry is kind of a nerdy sort of person. So I think he would have been at least made it more interesting, I think.
Good point. Yeah, I thought the dad looked the part, but
that's probably the one that got it. Yeah, pretty much. Which is
well, I will say, rewatching this last night, Dennis the Menace was a very different experience to my original matinee viewing experience in 1993.
Yeah.
But I am still glad that I did revisit it. And Amy, thank you for revisiting it with me.
Yes.
To reminisce both Dennis the Menace and 1993. It's a little gem of our childhood memories.
Yes.
You have closing thoughts about the movie? And then don't forget to tell us where we can find you and I don't know, a little preview of what you've got upcoming.
Sure, yeah. So let's see. I think in conclusion, I am, I think it's been made very clear that I'm, not a huge fan of this movie. And I think the reason why, if I wasn't such a huge Dennis the Menace fan, I probably would not be nearly as critical as I would be. I probably would have just been like, oh yeah, it's a kids movie from the 90s, whatever. It's got some funny moments or whatever. But I think because I have that deep, dorky, long-standing connection with Dennis the Menace, I think it's hard for me to sort of speak, super highly of this movie. So, is it worth watching as an adult? I guess if there's nothing else to watch, sure. But maybe just focusing on Walter Matthau will serve you well. And so, where you can find me, the best place to go probably is my website, popcultureretrospective.com. Find all of my past episodes, blog posts, links to my Instagram account, Twitter, X, whatever you call it, things like that. And I also have a YouTube channel that I try to get episodes posted onto and little clips of stuff here and there. And then shows that I'm currently working on. I am working on a show about, my show's oftentimes is very heavily like research based, which is why it's kind of on a sort of undetermined release cycle. I try to get out a couple episodes a month as time allows. I'm working on an episode about Shel Silverstein, which has been really interesting, and also working on a Retro Tech Part 2 episode. We're going to be talking about some of the kids' electronics that came out in the 80s, like the Speak and Spell and things like that, and kind of the backstory behind, what's the backstory behind the Speak and Spell? How did that come about? I always like to kind of teach listeners about pop culture and stuff. And then I'm also going to be having an author on my show coming up. He's written a book that was set in 1995, which is really interesting and a fun read. So yeah, there's always something in the works on my show that's focused on the 80s and 90s and early 2000s in memory of my sister. And popcultureretrospective.com.
I will have Amy's information in the show notes for you listeners. Yeah, you have a lot of, your episodes are varied. So there really is kind of a little for everyone, whether it's music or movies or TV shows. I especially loved the Today's Special episode.
Oh, nice. Oh God, that's dipping back into the archives.
Yeah,
but that's when I feel like I found my groove was around that episode, is when I kind of like felt a little bit more comfortable. Yeah.
Really liked it. Well, so you guys, if you liked this episode of RetroMade, please let me know. You can email me at retromadepodcast@gmail.com. If you are new to the show, you can also find RetroMade Podcast on the Director's Chair Network. So head over there. There's a lot of other podcasts about different directors like Ed Zwick, Brian De Palma, Michael Mann. And if you are joining RetroMade from the Director's Chair Podcast, welcome. I hope you enjoy. And until next time, be kind, rewind.